Hola clase. Today's lesson is on the imperfect tense. So when you use the imperfect tense, you're saying what you used to do. So for example, if you are talking about your past, what I used to do as a kid is, then you'll be using the imperfect tense. And so let's look at letter A. So to describe actions that occurred repeatedly in the past, you're going to use the imperfect tense. These are kinds of actions that are often expressed by used, to, or would in English. So if you see these three words in a sentence, then you're using the imperfect tense. So when you're using AR verbs in the imperfect, you will use the following endings: aba for the yo, abas for two, él, ella, usted is aba. Nosotros habamos, if you notice there is an accent over the A, and then habáis, and then habán. So remember these because these will only apply to AR verbs. And then note here in this box, all AR verbs are regular in the imperfect. So they are not irregular. There's no irregular stems or endings. So that means every single one, even stem changing verbs, will have these endings. So let's take a look at the example, hablar. So on your copy of the notes, go ahead and just fill them in. Hablaba, hablabas, hablaba, hablábamos, habláis, and hablan. You can pause the video to catch up. So let's look at the next one. You got cantar, and you'll do the same thing. Jugar, the same thing. Estar, lo mismo. Bañarse. Bañarse now is a reflexive verb, so you have the se at the end. So you'll have to add an additional pronoun, which goes with, it's a reflexive pronoun. So you have yo me bañaba. Tú te bañabas. Él, ella, usted se bañaba. Nosotros nos bañábamos. Vosotros os bañabais. Ellos, ellas, ustedes se bañaban. Again, you will only add these extra pronouns if you have a reflexive verb. And remember, reflexive verbs will always end in se. And then you have an example here in sentence form. De niña, ¿qué programas mirabas en la televisión? So because you're addressing a young girl, it will be, and you're talking to her, it will be in the second person singular form. So that would be the to form. Then you have the yo. Yo miraba Plaza Sésamo. I used to watch Sesame Street. Me gustaba mucho. So now you're going to the yo form, aba. Then your subject is ustedes. It's a question. It's not going to be at the beginning, so it's at the end. ¿Jugaban ustedes el ajedrez? Sí, y yo siempre ganaba. So yo is your subject, and then ganaba is your verb. So always look and see what your subject is and to figure out which form of the verb you need in the blank. All right, let's look at section B. And on section B, you have ER and IR verbs. It works basically the same way. Both have the same ending. So you just go ahead and say ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, and ian. Remember, don't forget, you have an accent mark all of these. You can pause the video to go ahead and fill in for these. Correr, subir, and leer. All right, and again, you have a sentence example. ¿Qué hacías tú durante el verano? What did you do during the summer? A veces, sometimes yo subía a un árbol y leía toda la tarde. Sometimes I climbed a tree. I went up a tree and read in the afternoon. And let's look at your little box here. Note, almost all ER and IR, whether they're stem changing or irregular, are going to be regular in the imperfect. So again, they're going to have the same endings, even if they're stem changing. But for this chapter, we'll only do the regular forms. And again, you have de niño, ¿qué hacías tú los sábados? Cuando yo no tenía quehaceres, corría por el parque. So that was letter C. Section D, let's take a look at that. And then you have now your subjects that you have to do but we have to add in the sentences. So because the yo form and the él, ella, and usted form of the imperfect are the same, it is sometimes necessary to use the same noun or pronoun to identify the subject. So remember, you'll need your pronouns to figure out the subject. Often, however, the subject is clear from the context. De niña jugabas tú a rayuela. Sí, y yo jugaba el escondite. Okay, so now let's look at two more verbs here. So the verbs ser, to be, and ir, to go, and ver, to see, are the only verbs that are irregular. So they're going to have different, you're going to have to memorize the actual word, not the ending. So in the imperfect tense only. So ser is era, eras, era, éramos, erais, and eran. So that's an accent over the E. Ir is iba, ibas, iba, íbamos, ibais, iban. That's to go. And then ver, oops, I jumped ahead here. And then ver is via, vias, via, viamos, viais, and vian. And again, don't forget your accent marks. All right, and then you have your practice. Cuando eras niña, that's a said verb. Ibas tú al parque con tus hermanas. So then you have the two, and that's the ibas. Sí, nosotras íbamos con nuestra mamá. Éramos muy pequeñas. ¿Qué películas veían tú y tus primos? Nosotros veíamos películas de John Wayne. So that's your sentence example. Okay, so that concludes the today's lesson. So be ready to tell me in just a minute what is the imperfect tense and how it functions in a sentence. Suerte.